Peace and love, everybody. This is Young Nas from iGotOptions LLC, and in this video I want to talk about what the 10-year Treasury yield is. Alright, so first let me explain what 10-year Treasury is, first of all. Alright, so 10-year Treasury is a fancy word for a bond that has a maturity or time limit of 10 years. Alright, so remember, bonds are loans that you give out to different corporations, and they have a certain time limit to pay you back. Alright, so if I buy a bond that costs $1,000, right, and the maturity of it is 10 years, that means whatever corporation I give my money out to has 10 years to pay me back. And until that money's paid back, I'm receiving interest payments from that corporation. All right, so that's what the 10-year Treasury is. It just refers to a bond that has a maturity of 10 years. Now, the yield, what is the yield part? The yield refers to the amount of interest you're receiving. All right, so let's say the yield of a bond was like 10%. That means if I buy a bond that costs $1,000 and the yield is 10%, that means you're going to be receiving interest payments of $100. Now, with that being said, the 10-year Treasury yield is seen as important because it's like an economic indicator to investors. Remember in one of my previous videos, I talked about market rotation, right? When investors move their money from the stock market to the bond market, right? So it's essentially like a seesaw. When the stock market is super bullish and super green, that means that those bond prices are going to be cheaper and the yields are going to be higher. Right? And that's because they want to attract investors to switch over to the bond market. Now, and vice versa, when the stock market's red and it's being bearish, bond prices are what? High, and the yields are low because there's a high demand of people wanting to get into bonds now since the stock market's red. All right, so that's why bond yields are important, and that's why particularly the 10-year Treasury bond yield is important. It's because it's seen as a super risk-free investment. However, in reality, that's not really true because you're always at risk of bonds defaulting on you. Alright, so that's what the 10-year Treasury yield is.